Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 207, Child of the Moon. This episode aired on November 11th, 2012. It was written by Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss, and was directed by Anthony Hemingway. Now, before we get into our chatting and chaos, here is a synopsis for the episode. In the Enchanted Forest, long ago. On the run from the Queen's men, Red discovers a tear in her cloak, and fearing for Snow's safety, when she turns, she forces them to split up. During this time, another shifter finds her and brings her back to their den, where she finally learns the truth about her parents and meets her mother, Anita. The others teach Red to control her wolf so that she would never fear hurting someone again. But when Snow finds them after Red missed their rendezvous point, guards follow her and kill one of the wolves, causing Anita to force Red to choose the pack or Snow. Red kills her mother to defend Snow, because after all, she was the only one who never made her choose whether she was a human or a wolf. In Storybrooke, it's the first wolf's time since the curse broke, and Ruby is terrified that she'll hurt the people of the town. When a body is found the morning after, she's convinced she's lost control and killed again. King George, known as Spencer in Storybrooke, spurs up the town into a frenzy in an attempt to take away control from David, but ultimately it is revealed that he was the one who killed Billy. In a last-ditch attempt to steal David's hope, he steals Jefferson's hat that could be the key to getting Snow and Emma back. Meanwhile, Henry is still having nightmares of the Red Fire Room. Regina cares for him while David is dealing with town business, and they see a burn on his hand from the dream. They go to Gold for help, and he gives Henry a potion that will allow him to control the dream and his fear. When he sleeps that night, he uses the pendant to control the flames and talk to the other person in the dream with him, Aurora, giving new hope to Emma and Snow that they can contact Storybrooke and find their way home.
Always love your synopses.
Synopses.
Thank you.
Because
I'm an adult.
It's fine. Well, because I don't know if I've said this before, people don't know this. I write them. I could just very easily, copy and paste something from the wiki, but I feel like I pull out the more pertinent, because I feel like the synopses from the wiki are going to be a little more broad, and, we don't talk about the episodes scene by scene.
I write mine, too, if it helps. Mine never sound as good as yours.
I feel like it's important to get, the main plot points or anything thematic that's going on. That way, a regular synopsis wouldn't hit everything, and we're not going to touch on every single point. But, no, I feel like it's important to have it all in there.
No, just the chaotic points.
Well, that's usually what happens with the Why Are There Eggs? So this was a Ruby episode.
It was a Ruby episode. But the Gus sent me. It got me.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Billy was Gus.
That was just so random. I was a mouse.
Yeah, it wasn't really the smoothest way of, hitting on Ruby, I guess, was what he was going for. Because they clearly, I guess the insinuation is that they had some kind of relationship under the curse. But, he tried. I'll give him that. He tried, and we do see him again in context of Cinderella in season 6.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Poor Gus. Poor Billy.
I did write, Ruby would also be able to call me whatever she wants.
This is also true. Ruby could, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I was really excited to see if she could turn or not, now that the curse is broken.
Yeah.
I was very interested and actually curious of that. So when I saw that we had a one title, Child of the Moon, I was like, okay, I'll get my answers.
Yeah.
I don't need to bug Lauren with that one. I'm going to get answers. But nothing like a wanted poster in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, those wanted posters are all over the place. And unfortunately, I've reconfigured my my camera so you can't see my wanted poster anymore. But I stand by. My wanted poster is far more accurate to what Ginnifer Goodwin looks like than the versions they had on the show.
I'm not surprised. I am surprised, though, that Granny didn't stand guard.
I also...
in front of it.
I guess they figured it's a freezer. It's like they're locked fairly tightly. I mean, you know more about how industrial freezers work than I do.
That door was wooden, though. That door looked wooden, and walk-in freezers tend to be pretty industrial. They're strong.
Well, it looked like it was metal on the inside, and then it was it was wooden on the outside, probably just to match whatever aesthetic is going on in the back of Granny's Diner. I don't really know, but I don't know. It's Granny didn't stand guard because plot, basically. She needed to get out.
Yeah.
That's basically what that is.
Walk-in freezers are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
As a server and a bartender in my time, they're wonderful to scream and cry in.
Mm.
Like, best place because no one can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see where they thought it would work. Now that I'm actually like thinking of walk-in freezers, sometimes it doesn't look like that. Looks like really strong metal,
Mm-hmm.
but it's probably just mainly the base. Like the outside does look more like aluminum
Yeah.
from the walk-in freezers I've been in. I've been in some great ones, been in some
Mm-hmm.
cheaper ones.
Fair.
It's odd to have this experience and this knowledge of walk-in freezers, but when you work in food and beverage, like,
Yeah,
you're used to them.
we all have our different. We all bring different expertise to the table.
Yeah. I did have one thing I did write down. I don't have a ton of notes for this one just because it was kind of predictable, but enjoyable. Thank you, costume department. When we meet her mom, I'm like, thank you to the costume department forever.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing.
You want to know something really stupid that the wiki had about her costume?
Yes, please.
The necklace that Anita is wearing is apparently a pendant that can be found in Final Fantasy VII.
No.
It's apparently the Fenrir wolf necklace that I guess that character wears in Final Fantasy VII.
That is hilarious. Once again, thank you, costume department. That's I find that hilarious.
But apparently, I don't know where they got it, but someone has found the necklaces that they use sometimes for Regina's necklaces in like Rue 21, which I don't know if that store still exists anymore. If it
Not where I live.
I don't know what areas of the United States this was, because there was one by me, but it's like kind of like if you took, it's like less than fast fashion quality. Like it's not the highest quality clothing, but also like kind of like the jewelry section of Hot Topic. You just made it really, really big.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can really describe it. So the fact of that Regina's necklaces came from Rue 21 sometimes makes sense that they're also using pieces from Final Fantasy VII.
Makes complete sense.
Someone went to Hot Topic.
It's a great store.
It's a great store.
It really is weird going to Hot Topic at this age, though, because I still frequent there.
Yeah.
They got good shit. And I went in recently, and it's really weird when someone who's so much younger comes up and asks if you need help, and then the music's completely different now, too. Like, I remember, I was the Hot Topic days, you'd walk in, there's metal playing.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen as much anymore.
Not really.
It's that Ron Swanson moment, though, that they'll walk up and be like, do you need any help? And I'm like, I know more than you.
I know more than you.
I've been going here for almost 20 years.
You need help planning anything? Like, no, I know where your Disney merch and your pins are. I'm fine.
I got this. I know how to figure out band tees, all the things. It's the same when I walk into most bookstores.
Yeah.
I'll never say that to like an indie bookstore because they definitely know more than me.
Yeah.
But like Barnes & Noble, I know more than you.
Yep.
The casting, though, of her mom.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal casting.
It really was.
They're identical.
The show is so good. Here's the thing: is they're so good at the casting because, which makes the times where it's less than stellar odd, and you kind of wonder why they picked the person, because like they'll do stuff like this where like they'll have like Billy Madison and Ginnifer Goodwin as the young version of Snow White, which is amazing. You'll have the actor who played Anita and Meghanori who look like they could be mother and daughter. They'll have, all of the women in Regina's family, you've only met Cora so far, but they all look very similar. Or even like Ginnifer Goodwin, Jennifer Morrison, and Jared Gilmore all kind of having the same chin. Like, they'll do that. And then there's a character that when they cast, it's in season 4, the younger version is the one we see first, and then we see her as an adult. And the younger actor is Latina, and the older actor is not. And the older actor looks neither like the younger version of her character or the person who's supposed to be her mother. So I'm like, why did we cast this? Like, she does a good job with the acting, but like, they usually do tend to focus also on like how someone looks in correlation with everybody else. Yeah. I'm just like, why? So it's like,
well, like you said, the Rose plays a younger Cora.
Rose McGowan's perfect.
That's perfect for that casting.
Yeah.
So how did?
Yeah, so there's times like the woman that they'll eventually cast for Anna of Arendelle looks like the animation. I have no other way of describing this person.
Wow.
Elizabeth Lale in that costume, she might as well just be, she could be a face character from Disney World. She's that perfect.
That's amazing.
So it's like, they have that, and then they have this other character, and I'm like, but why though? So that's a tangent for when we get there, though.
That's fair. Now, with everything going on, though, with Gold helping Henry out, I'm questioning, does Gold already know that Henry's his grandson?
No, he does not. He just has a soft spot for children.
Soft spot for children. Okay, because I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Why is he being so helpful? Now I can't wait to see his reaction to knowing Henry is his grandson. That will be interesting.
It is not what you think it's going to be.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of stuff happens.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. But also can't stand George. Like,
fucking Alan Dale does such a good job. I did write this down. This was like a thing that I wrote down because he just keeps coming in this episode. He just doesn't stop. And like, Spencer is the epitome of evil for evil's sake, and thus less compelling, which makes it that much more interesting when they do eventually give us an evil for evil's sake character later on. But she is just as well-rounded and as the others that do have sympathetic backstories. His whole point here is to get back at David for going against him and defeating him, but it just comes across as petty. For a show with so many well-rounded characters, he just falls very flat.
Very flat.
Alan Dale does a great job, but honestly, we see him one more time in a flashback in this season, and then we don't see him again until he's relevant in season 6, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, that's fine. Because I wrote down, like, the last thing I really wrote, but it's pertinent to now, is we should totally just kill the king.
Mm-hmm. We should totally just stab Caesar.
You knew! Yes, you got it.
Of course I know the reference.
Yes, of course.
I am a millennial.
Yes, but my favorite line of the whole show, though, is especially when you run a hotel. I was like, Granny.
What have I been saying?
You've been saying.
That poor woman with her wolf senses.
When she was like, especially when you run a hotel, I was like, Granny, what have you heard?
Uh-huh. She's been hearing those Saturday City Council meetings for a long time.
Yeah. And then I just wrote, and now kiss Belle and Ruby.
Honestly, when Belle comes to her rescue at the beginning, like, come on. Girls' night.
Like, we don't.
Girls' night.
Girls' night.
Girls' night. Are we sure it's really girls' night? I don't think we are.
Girls' night in the book stacks.
And then,
just saying.
Then she shackles her to the shelf.
Yep. Like I said. So what's the name of that fan? Like that?
That would be,
ship?
That's Red Beauty.
I like it.
It's good.
I'm a fan.
I had a feeling you would be.
Well, it sounds like a really good story too. Like, yeah. I need to know if anybody's written like a retelling, so to speak, of this, because I feel like Beauty and the Beast being that would be amazing.
I say this all the time. I think Red Beauty is a more compelling option for Beauty and the Beast retelling than Rumbelle, because with the two of them, you have more of the elements of learning to accept yourself and love yourself before you learn to love another. With Rumbelle, the main amalgamation is really more Stockholm Syndrome and kidnapping. So, like, they took that element of it. But, like, with Red Beauty, you have more of Belle kind of being I can't say that I've ever seen, like, a full-on, like, someone, like, did a full, like, multi-chapter AU situation where Red and Belle get together. I also only mostly read one-shots, so that's a me thing. But, like, with that story, you have more of Belle helping her learn to accept herself and love herself and control the wolf and all of that. And through that, they come together. And like through that, kind of like this isolation a little bit, because Belle's fairly isolated throughout most of her life, so she understands that aspect of things already. I think that's a more compelling... And you also have like a friends to lover situation, which the show isn't a big fan... This is the one thing I can say is the show is not necessarily the biggest fan of having true love couples not have some kind of intense spark the first time they meet. Like, for all of our true love couples, there's going to be something intense is going to happen the first time that they see each other. Okay. So it's like, I don't say, it's not necessarily love at first sight, but there's a spark of something at first sight when it comes to most of their true love couples.
A strong emotion. Strong
emotions. Whether it's positive or negative, no one's sure yet. And with Red Beauty, with Belle and Ruby, it's more of a friends to lovers arc where they meet and they learn and they get to understand each other first and then they fall in love. And that would make more sense to me personally. It would. But I'm also sapphic, so there's that.
Well, I mean, whoever may know who's listening to this, if there's any books out there like that, please send them my way.
Like I said, Say It Out Loud has elements of it. It's not a strict Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it has elements of it. And by the time... It doesn't matter. It'll be out whenever. I want to say that it'll be out in September of 2024, because this will be out. This will be out in April. or May. This
Okay.
this episode will be out the end of May. So, by saying it'll be out in September is still correct.
Yeah. I'm realizing I have yet to find a good Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I need it.
Fair.
Because I've long time ago I read like the actual Beauty and the Beast, the story of it. I mean, she had sisters, and there's of course so much stuff that's not in original stuff. There were siblings, there were all kinds of different things. But I so much of us hook on to the Disney one, for good reason. Like to this day, I still think Emma was the perfect casting for Belle in the live action. But I need a good retelling, because ACOTAR is not a good retelling.
No, it is not. That I would say that's
horrible.
I would say that's a dangerous thing to say, but this is our podcast. People can be mad at us for all we care.
I've already said enough of it online in my past. I do not think it is a good retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So I need a good one.
You know what's interesting? Of the book series that I love, the Wicked Villain series, that's all the different fairy tale retellings through a modern, spicy lens. The one that I actually have yet to finish, I've tried multiple times, is the Beauty and the Beast retelling one. And that's an author that I love. That's Katie Robert, and I love their writing, and I love the worlds that they create, and their intense, intensity, I guess, focus on consent, and on doing this in a very specific way. And there's something about that dynamic that I just can't do it.
I wonder if that's where I should start.
I don't know. That's the thing is with that book series, I always say it's a collection of stories. There is an order to them, but I tell people, read the synopses, read the trigger warnings, because the author is very good about those, and start with whichever one appeals the most to you. I recommend Learn My Lesson, because I think that's the best introduction to the world as well as the Triad.
Gotcha.
I think it's the tamest.
Tamest?
Quotes.
For anybody who doesn't know, I don't read a lot of spicy books.
Also, these are very 18+ recommendations. Very 18+.
We do list this as explicit, at least.
That we do, but also we have no idea who's listening. We do, because we do have people that listen that are under 18, that according to our analytics.
That is fair.
So I just say 18+ recommendation. You did not hear this from me if you are not 18.
That's fair. I'm a high fantasy girl, so I'm picking up book like the TikTok I sent you. I need a book that's got, a glossary and a guide and epic maps. That's my bread and butter of reading. So jumping into spice is I've dipped my toe, thanks to Lauren.
I like chaos.
And then you befriended me.
Hey, maybe one of these days with our book club, I'll get you to read the Dark Olympus series.
I'm sure it's going to happen. Seeing Red have to kill her own mother, I expected it, but it still sucked.
I think her intent was not to kill her, because she did say, she's like, she did look surprised as to what happened. I think her intent was just to push Anita away. But when you're in a space like that, obviously that's what's going to happen. Because she did say, I'm not a killer, like you did, but you didn't intend to kill her. So I'm going to give her that. She was protecting Snow. It was definitely very heartbreaking.
Very. And apart from that, the only things I really wrote was that I fucking love Granny and I hate George. So that's pretty much what my notes have been. Most of it is just I need Ruby and Belle together, and I love this person and fuck this person. That's pretty much my notes.
Granny is the best character ever. I love her with the crossbow. Next one goes between your eyes. And I would believe her.
Oh, yeah.
If he took one more step, he was getting the arrow. So I would fully believe that.
But then he got away.
Well, because he went the other direction. And also Ruby was dealt with at that point. But Granny with the power tools never gets old. Just at the very beginning with her with the welding tools.
Yes.
I will say, though, why is frozen lasagna all they had in that freezer?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with that. What else are they serving?
They should have had more than that, in my opinion.
There's a lot of things go in the walk-in.
A lot of, yeah. Ruby's thing, though, of this is the first full moon since the curse hit. I'm further proving that they should not have put pumpkins in the doctor episode. I'm because that means if it's the first full moon since the curse broke, they're admitting that we are within the month that the curse broke. It's been at most a month if the full moon was right before the curse broke. So, since the premiere, which is about right, everything kind of up until this point, unless we get a very explicit time jump, there'll be times where they'll explicitly be a year, 6 weeks. So they'll explicitly tell us there's some kind of time jumping. Everything happens one right after the other. So
Okay.
like,
That's good.
don't think like, it's a week away. It's the next day is most, like, episode to episode is most days. I think almost all of like their season finale to season premiere is always the next moment, I believe,
I like that
with the
though a lot.
exception of 6 to 7, but even then that's just because 7 is its own beast.
Okay.
So like, it's great for continuity of the show, because like, you're not thinking like, okay, stuff has happened since that we're not seeing, or we have to go flashbacks into that. But it does for the people that watch the show live, or even people that just don't think too hard about it. They see 6 seasons, they see 7 seasons, they think it's 7 years worth of timeline, and I'm like, I get that the kid on the show is 17 when, the last time we see him. Character isn't. So people like say that his acting feels off towards the end of the show, and I'm like, it doesn't feel off. He's acting the way that his character should act. You just don't expect that out of someone who looks 17.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is his
And
character is 13.
oh my.
Yeah, but the first 6 seasons spans roughly about 3.5 years, 3.5, 4 years. So he's like 13, 14.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Because it's just, there aren't these big time jumps. The only one that really kind of fits along with the timeline of each episode is kind of a week was the middle of season 1. And after that, there isn't that. So that's my thing. I remind people that just because Jared was 17 when his run on the show ended, Henry was 14.
My goodness.
That poor child. So I feel like we should talk a little bit about the Red Room situation with the after effect of the curse. Again, I do love Regina was taking care of him because David was doing other things. There's growth in the relationship. He's trusting her to take care of Henry, which is all good. But I like that there's this little after effect, because it does make sense the way that Rumpel kind of explains it.
Just getting that background of how it actually works.
Yeah. We're gonna get more of it into the next episode. The next episode is called Into the Deep. So we're gonna get a little bit more into how all of that works.
It's become my favorite part of my week, though, sitting down and watching. So I can't wait to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Well, I've been kind of binging other things lately instead, because I can't binge this.
Yeah, I know.
But I got my husband into Shameless, so every night it's like 1 or 2 episodes of that. So I'm like, all right, I can binge something, because it didn't help that I binged all of Has Been.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's basically a movie.
Yeah, it's basically a movie.
Basically, what Rumpel says is that, no, it's an after effect of the curse, because when you're under the sleeping curse, basically the soul is transported to this netherworld, which makes sense in that Snow appeared as if she was dead. Henry appeared as if he was dead, but they could very much be revived, right? So it's the fact that the soul travels to whatever netherworld is created by this sleeping curse. And when they awake, because it's in that state of sleep, when they're awoken from the curse, but their bodies still sleep, their soul, rather than dreaming, their soul returns to another sector of that netherworld realm, what have you. Because what is it that Regina says when Snow is about to eat the apple is, you'll be trapped in there with nothing but dreams formed of your own regrets, which is pretty much like you're left in there with nothing but to think about all that you did and all that you could have done. And we'll actually get to see what that initial level of the netherworld looks like in the next episode.
That's exciting.
The next episode is one of my favorites, honestly.
It's good.
Because we're getting into, like, this is probably the last of, I would say, like, character filler kind of episodes for this part of the season. The plot is about to pick up very, very fast.
Okay.
We only have 2 episodes left to what was the first part of the season. Episode 9 was the mid-season finale. So at that point, we have a pretty significant shift in how the season goes. So, like, the plot is going to pick up really, really quickly in the next episode, which is going to be a lot of fun. I like this episode. I like that we get more of the wolf, a little bit more of the wolf lore. Not a whole lot. We never get a ton, and like, which was really a missed opportunity, because there was that novelization that they did. It was Red's Untold Tale, but it was set before the events of Red Handed, so she didn't know she was the wolf. So there wasn't really, there was some scene where she talked to, I think, a wizard or something. I read this a long, long time ago, so I don't remember anymore. But it was like, it's just, there's a missed opportunity here for us to get more wolf lore. And there's also a graphic novel that I think I've talked about before called Shadow of the Queen, which takes place after this episode. My best guess is it takes place in that month between when Snow and Charming meet for the first time and like when all hell breaks loose, basically.
Yeah.
And it's the one where I say they randomly turn into fish for no reason. But in that we see more of the wolves and everything. I'm not giving you any context for that because even
I'm good.
I couldn't understand the context for it. Shadow of the Queen was worth the $5 I bought. I paid for it on thrift books. It was like it should have been more compelling than it was.
I mean, turning into fish is somewhat compelling.
I just don't remember why they turned into fish. I don't remember why. It was just weird.
Magic, that's why.
Because magic. There was some magical element to it. But I would like more of the wolves, and I did, out of curiosity, looked up whether they'd be considered werewolves or shifters, and because they are more in control of their actions, and they're not humanoid, they're not like giant humanoid-y, according to the general definitions of werewolves, they are more considered to be wolf shifters, if that makes anyone feel better about this.
Look, and my background's in dragons. I cannot help you with any other form of mystical beast.
I thought I would look it up because I was curious. But back to the thing.
Because apparently,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I said the dragon thing and it made me think, apparently I've broken our friend Jess.
Oh.
By telling her that all the dragons, I say dragons, in Game of Thrones are actually wyverns.
Oh, gotcha.
To the point she's now like telling other people, she's like, did you know? And they're like, no. And it's a wonderful experience for myself.
That's great.
Ruining dragons for other people.
Mm-hmm. I do love that they used a very common element that we see in a lot of monster movies and fairy tales with the mob with pitchforks and torches. It's very much giving, through the mist, through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows. Like it was giving Beauty and the Beast. Furthering my thing about Ruby being a part of a Beauty and the Beast story would have been so much better.
Like, this was a better Beauty and the Beast story watching this from my own sapphic lens than it was watching the Beauty and the Beast episode of this show.
Which is funny considering you gave that a 30.
I did, because it's Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, I know.
I can't help it.
Still, no,
the library did me in.
It's the library. It's fair. It's Belle in her library. And luckily Ruby did remember to ask David to unchain her, which was important. But I did like that. Yeah. I did like, though, that through all of this, it's even though we don't get the maybe this is why or just because we have eyes, I don't know, why the fandom had decided that Ruby was bi from the beginning. Because her story is very much one of found family, which is very much a queer trope.
Very much.
And it's just, maybe it's because, my guess is just because we have eyes and we see the way she's got chemistry with everything that moves. But having that be part of her story and knowing that further on down the way she is going to have that kind of relationship in her life, it's good that this is at the core of it, is her story with her and Snow being one of found family. And Granny wanted me to choose to be human. My mother wanted me to choose to be a wolf. You're the only one that made me feel like I could be both. Mm-hmm. And that's very important. Their friendship is really sweet. And I mean it when I say Snow would be leading the pride parades. We'll see that when Ruby eventually finds her girlfriend in season 5. She's so happy.
I'm just sad it's not Belle.
It's not Belle. And I really wish it was more satisfying than it was. I really wish Ruby's relationship was more satisfying than it was. It's unfortunate because it's like they give it to us and they're like, here, we have done a good thing. You have confirmed what the fandom knew for 5 years. Congratulations. But they weren't quite grasping the thing of but we want to have time to get to know the characters and see them interact and see them have problems, and
we want to see the relationship.
We don't just having an episode, having the episode where they meet, where we see them meet, and that also be the culmination of their story with true love's kiss and everything. That's not representation. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's not.
It's appeasing, but not enough.
It's fan service. It's
yeah,
they were doing they did their best, and to be fair, they gave us a more satisfying sapphic ship in the final season. They learned from I think they may have learned from the feedback they got of, you got to show us them together before they realize it's true love. I'm sorry, we need to see the beginning and that not be the same day.
It also it makes me think of how often sapphic media is just canceled.
Yeah.
There's far too many situations where we finally get another show, it happens, and they're like, oh, no more. I mean, we could probably both name off so many so easily because it happens all the time. So it's like, please give us more. Yeah. If you're going to do it in a normal, quotes, show, Give us more.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. Like, just you gotta, like, just giving, like, these queers, and not necessarily just sapphic, but just queer ships in general,
Yes.
giving them the same space as you give the straight ships. It's just, it's important, because A, it makes people root for the characters more, because, like, they rush these things, people, then they get the feedback of, oh, this is unsatisfying, so they don't keep doing it. I wonder why. Like, if you don't give it the same time to grow as you give the other ships, then you're going to have this issue where you're just going to have people that don't seem to care about this representation that you're putting in. It has to feel earned. You can't just slap it in there and say, here you go, because that's just not going to be... Quiet, you. It's not going to be as satisfying. So back to my notes. It's okay. We had
just a rant on sapphic media.
Yeah, after our rant on sapphic media. Hey, it's what did I say in the video the other day? One co-host going on a tangent, the other one egging them on. I don't have that many more notes other than the fun facts. So I did like, though, in the scene with the mob and Ruby and Dave and everything, you could see the rain. Like, it was very in the light of the torches. It's very, very fine.
Yeah.
So, like, on the wide shots, you can't see it at all. Going back to, like, what they say a lot of times is, like, they just film through the rain because they have no choice. Like, they really, on very few occasions, have they given characters umbrellas because the rain is actually just that bad.
Oh, wow.
And you're not rescheduling for rain. Like, one time it works really well in their favor. It kind of gives the scene itself kind of more of like a film noir, kind of like meeting at midnight kind of feel. So it works for it. Another time it's just like Regina has an umbrella and the other people don't. And I'm like, this is just accurate for her character. She would be the one to have an umbrella because she would be prepared.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it does work out. But what did you think of the CGI of the wolves? I'm curious.
Better than Twilight.
It's true, it is better than Twilight.
It's better than Twilight's. And the only reason I've ever watched Twilight was to hate watch, because I thought the CGI was pretty good. Better than I expected with this show, because their CGI it's TV CGI of that time.
It is. And I was looking for a video because there was a video that I had labeled from the Paley Fest, because this Paley Fest event, I can't find the whole one. I can only find the clips that they posted. So I titled it like Red Room of Fire. So I figured, I can talk about this episode. Most of what they're talking about is for the next episode, so I'll save it till then. But in it, they do mention that the company that does a lot of their special effects gets most of it done in 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It's TV. It's TV. It's network television. It's not cable. So the budget is that much smaller. And I think when people critique the CGI, a lot of times what they're comparing it to is CGI that had months, if not years, to get it done, with what's being done in 3 to 4 weeks. For 3 to 4 weeks, I really think I think the quality of what we get is truly phenomenal for 3 to 4 weeks worth of work. Because special effects is hard to do.
It very much, like, you can't compare, like, today's CGI as well with TV. Because if you compare something, let's say, like WandaVision, that has phenomenal CGI, to something like this, you can't compare the two.
No, because WandaVision had
between
years.
Technology, with the technology advancements, plus the money, plus the time, it's far different. With what we're watching, I'm just very much trying to be like, this is what we get. This is what they had.
Exactly.
There are those moments that I'm like, oh my god, because then they have like these wonderful moments of CGI while I think about the clock tower and the glass in the I want to say coffin. Yes, technically it's a coffin. It makes me think of those moments because those are great CGI with the same budget.
But the CGI, like I always say, the standing sets are great, and like a lot of the CGI they're talking about was the fire room, and I'll talk more about it next week after you've seen the scene that they talk about, because it's to hear them talk about filming it is kind of hilarious. But they put together like these really, like, I always say the virtual standing sets are gorgeous. Like, if like just like their virtual backdrops, what they do with that is truthfully amazing, especially to see them. Like, I think the virtual backdrops take like less than a week usually.
Oh, wow.
Because they don't have to like kind of mark it with movement or anything, so it's a little easier, I think, to get that done than like the moving CGI. But at the end of the day, it's really truly phenomenal. So my other, like, I didn't really have that many fun facts in this episode. I already talked about the Final Fantasy necklace. Henry's pendant necklace had the same symbol that was drawn on Anita's grave at the very end. It's the same moon with the dot. And you're saying before, episode Child of the Moon, which makes perfect sense. This is werewolves. Again, with the writers of the show just having an affinity for a certain era of music. This is named after a Rolling Stone song.
I'm okay with
Like, it's
this.
good, but it's just, this keeps coming up, and I just find it funny.
I grew up on this kind of music, so it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to go into your stats, and then I'll close this out? I have some fun facts about the actor who played Billy, actually.
Ooh. This is 9 across the board.
Okay.
Which you probably expected.
Mm-hmm.
I got Belle in it. I love Ruby. I love Grant. Like, the only bad part of this was George.
Uh-huh.
That's my only.
Yeah.
Like, the CGI was what it was. Some of it felt a little bit corny, a little bit cringy, like the way they. I don't know if it was the script or what, but some of it came off as very much like, all right. So, but I apart from that, I love it. It's Ruby.
Yeah.
I'm gay.
We have eyes. It's fine.
It's fine. So that's where it's 9.
Okay.
So 27 total
Nice.
for me.
Very nice. How does that compare to Red Handed, out of curiosity?
Oh, let me check.
I know the episode, in our timeline, that episode literally just came out 2 weeks ago, but I don't remember what your score was anymore.
Red Handed was 28.
Okay, there you go. So that's fair. It's fairly similar.
That is fairly similar.
So this one for me, again, it's kind of in that space of like, this episode and the last episode are about as much character filler as this part of the season can kind of support. At the end of the day, not a whole lot happens.
Yeah.
Because like, they find the diamonds, and that's important to the plot, and I really kind of wonder if they really thought that the hat was ever going to really be a big part of getting them home at the end of the day. So I gave us a 7 for plot and a 7 for character, because it's a lot of character backstory. It gives us more backstory when it comes to Ruby's character, and it gives us more backstory when it comes to David's motivations and how all that goes for the show, for the season. And it pushes the plot forward a little bit when it comes to Henry and the Red Room of Fire. So I'll give it that.
Yeah.
So like, there's not a whole lot that happens. However, it's Ruby, it's Wolf, I have eyes. It's a 10 for personal, giving it a 20.
I have eyes.
So it gives it a 24.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, the I have eyes thing is something that I wrote into one of my books, that like, it's one of my favorite lines that I've ever read, which is why I use it all the time. Because it's like, it's one character talking to the other one who's like pining after somebody else, and like, okay, if you ever tell them how you like what you're feeling, and they reciprocate them, and I know she will because I have eyes. And she keeps going. She's like, here's reasons. I'm like, it's just I love that line of just saying, I have eyes. I can see this. So it gets a 24 for me.
I don't think I can ever repeat my favorite thing I've ever written.
And that wasn't word for word. That was the gist with the I have eyes.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. I'm just thinking about my favorite thing I've ever written, and I'm like, I don't think I can repeat that. You know.
So to close this out, because I just thought this was very cute, just just how this works out for us. So the guy who played Billy, that's Jared Joseph. Mm-hmm. I think you said you've seen this. He was on The 100.
Yes.
So he played Nathan Miller on The 100 for the entirety of the show up until the last couple of seasons.
Knew he looked familiar.
So, but ironically, this is like one of my favorite things. It's just funny because they're all Vancouver. They're not Vancouver. They're all Canada actors. I think he's actually from Calgary, but it's just funny how it ends up. His character on The 100 ends up dating a man who is played by Jonathan Whitesell, who will appear on Once Upon a Time in season 5, which I just think is very fun.
Oh, that's fun.
I like when I see, like, because also, like, I always say I can always tell like the same filming locations, because everything that films in Vancouver films in the same like 5 locations in the forest, because they have the same kinds of filming angles, so you can tell them. But then also you can tell when they start pulling from the same pool of actors, because roughly around the same age people are needed for the same kinds of shows. So it's just fun to kind of see all of that come in together.
Yeah.
And
which is funny because I was recently about to restart the 100 because I never finished it all the way through. Then my husband saw me watching it and he's like, hey, I'm interested in that. So I had the lovely experience of like, okay, this will be started together soon so I can watch it with you, because marriage.
Mm-hmm. When you get to one of the scenes, you're probably going to be like, oh, that's the toll bridge.
Yeah, I probably will. Like, I've already, like, when I watched just that first episode, I was like, this forest. Huh.
It looks familiar.
It looks familiar.
When I watched it for the very first time, I was watching it with my best friend, and because she was the one that was having me watch it, and I kept going, huh? And she's like, what's with this? I'm like, these are the same. I know exactly where they filmed this. She's like, what do you mean you know where they filmed this? And I'm like, because I can tell you that I've seen this exact cliff at this exact angle in this scene of episode 205 of Once Upon a Time. And she's like, are you okay? And like, the answer is no. But at the end of the day, it's like, they could probably only use the same filming angles because I'm sure like the ground can only support cameras at certain places.
Yeah.
But it's just like, truthfully, like I said out loud when I watched it, that's the toll bridge. She went, what do you mean that's the toll bridge? And I'm like, it's the same bridge they use. And then there's a beach with a giant tree on it that we see in season 6.
Okay.
That is in, I think, the first season of the 100. For whatever reason, I assumed that they had added the tree. They didn't. It's just there because it's in the.
Oh, the tree's just there.
That's just part of the landscape.
Well, when we start our watch on that, I'll tell you what I realized.
It's a giant felled tree on like a rocky beach. It's kind of hard to miss.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers, Season 4, Episode 7, Bob and Deliver, and Episode 8, Christmas in the Car. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our new book club, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.